My 22-year-old female roommate is my best friend and has been for years. We've lived together for 2.5 years, and it's genuinely the best living situation I've ever been in. We love to hang out and have a very close relationship, often talking for hours on end. 2 years ago, he started seeing Rachel, a 21-year-old female. Rachel and I get along very well, often drinking together and watching movies without my roommate. I consider her one of my best friends. Rachel is also frequently at my flat, often spending 4 days there at a time. The problem arose a week before their 2-year anniversary. Rachel asked me to leave the flat that my roommate and I share for the weekend because they celebrate their anniversary over 2 days, and she wants to be alone with him. She wants me to sleep in her bed at her flat that she shared with her 2 other flatmates. I pushed back against this as I have a weekly call on Sunday, and the Wi-Fi in her flat is terrible and would make the call quality extremely poor. She agreed to let me stay home on Sunday and says that she'll make her bed for me to sleep in on Saturday. All is well. Then Saturday comes. I'm at the library writing my dissertation with a good friend, and I get a text from Rachel telling me that she's sorry, but that she forgot to change her sheets for me to sleep in. She asks me to instead go sleep at another friend's house. I say that I don't want to do that, as this friend's house is very far away. She gets very upset with me and says it will have to be Sunday instead. I again refuse, as this is the day that I have my weekly call. Rachel absolutely blows up at me. She says that I've violated her boundaries and that she cannot believe that I've done this to her. She says that I am acting like her very cruel and hurtful mother. She berates me for the other time I came home after she told me to stay at another house, and that was another boundary crossed. I am astounded at this. The reason I went to my house was I was being followed by a man in the dark. I even sat outside of our door for 30 minutes and was planning on staying there for a few hours to give them their space until she opened the door to let me in. I immediately take it back and say that I'll go to her house for both nights so they can have a special weekend. Since this has happened, she has not spoken to me for 4 weeks. I have repeatedly reached out to her to apologize, but have gotten literally nothing back. She has come over to my flat a few times in the meantime, but has ignored me when she walks to his room. There was even an occasion when I was hanging out with 2 of my friends, and she ignored me and had a conversation with the 2 of them in front of me, even arranging for them to hang out later again. Without me, though I still feel bad, my friends have told me that I have done nothing wrong and that she's being a jerk, plus she has no right in general to order me out of my house. So Reddit, I ask, am I the idiot? Update in the comments. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. You went out of your way to stay at her place and she is too lazy to get some clean sheets on the bed for you? This was all her doing. The only boundaries crossed were yours. Stop apologizing. You are not her mother. Any trauma she is claiming is imaginary, and any blame she is trying to stick on you is next-level gaslighting. Stop falling for it. You need to get a backbone. Talk to your roommate and let him know that her behavior is making your home, your safe space, a hostile place to be. Tell him until she apologizes to you and agrees to stop doing this weird power flex. Talking to your friends as if you're not there, making plans with them. She can just stay in her own place and he can visit her there. Stop being a doormat in your own home. What does he say about all this, by the way? Comment 2. She says that I have violated her boundaries and that she cannot believe that I have done this to her. That is not a boundary. That is not what that word means. That is you refusing to submit to a change in the agreement you already made. You agreed to A for B, and she is trying to change it to A for C, not the idiot growth. Now for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been 3 days since my last post, and boy do I have an update for you. Remember how Rachel, my roommate's girlfriend, and I were close? Well, that's all gone down the drain. Let's dive into the juicy details. First off, let me give you a bit of history. Rachel and I used to be inseparable. We'd have these epic movie marathons and share secrets like sisters. She even confided in me about her rocky relationship with her mom, which is why her accusation hit me like a truck. I never thought she'd compare me to her mom, of all people. Now onto the new developments. After Rachel ghosted me for 4 weeks, she finally decided to break the silence, but not in the way you'd expect. She came over to our flat when she knew my roommate wasn't home. I thought she was finally ready to talk, and maybe even apologize. Boy, was I wrong. She stormed in, eyes blazing, and accused me of trying to sabotage her relationship. I was floored. She claimed that my roommate had been acting distant, and she was convinced I had said something to him. I hadn't, of course, but try telling her that. Turns out, my roommate had been distant because he was planning a surprise proposal for their anniversary. Rachel found the ring and assumed it was because of me that he hadn't popped the question yet. The irony? I was the one who helped him pick out the ring in the first place. But here's the real kicker. While Rachel was ranting, my roommate walked in. He overheard everything, including the part where Rachel admitted she had been texting her ex behind his back. She said she was just seeking comfort because she felt I was turning my roommate against her. My roommate was stunned. He confronted her right then and there. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. Rachel tried to backpedal, saying it was nothing serious, but my roommate wasn't having any of it. He told her it was over, right there in our living room. Rachel left in tears, and my roommate and I were left in a weird silence. He apologized to me for not believing me when I said I hadn't done anything. We talked for hours, piecing together how Rachel had been manipulating both of us. He told me about how she'd been acting jealous of our friendship for months, something he had never mentioned before. The next day, things got even more bizarre. Rachel's flatmates showed up at our door. Apparently, she had told them a completely different story, painting herself as the victim of a cheating boyfriend and a backstabbing best friend. They were ready to give us a piece of their mind until we explained everything. After hearing our side, they were shocked. They told us about how Rachel had been acting strange lately, always on her phone and laughing at messages she wouldn't show them. They apologized for barging in and left, looking like they had a lot to talk about. As if that wasn't enough drama, my other friends, the ones Rachel had tried to turn against me, came over later that day. They told me Rachel had reached out to them, trying to arrange a hangout without me. They were confused, especially since they knew we were close. When I filled them in on the whole story, they were outraged on my behalf. So, here I am now, with a roommate who's just had his heart broken, and a friendship that's been shattered into a million pieces. My friends have been amazing, rallying around me and offering support. My roommate and I have been leaning on each other a lot, trying to get past the betrayal. Rachel hasn't tried to contact either of us since the confrontation. Her flatmates told us she's been keeping to herself, and honestly, I'm not sure how to feel about that. Part of me is relieved she's staying away, but another part of me is sad about how everything turned out. Mom threatens to kick me out when I can't work at the store, so I stand my ground and stepdad sides with me, but when she tries to buy my forgiveness with cash, I make my own plans. Edit. Thank you so much everyone for all your comments and your support. You have no idea how much that means to me. Thank you so much. I did have to apologize to my mom as she had started giving me the silent treatment. Many have suggested I look into my state's laws, but unfortunately, if I do cite what is written in there will be even more chaos in the house. And knowing my mom, she'd probably say stuff like, "You're turning against me." Which sounds insane, I know. My plan is to save up and get out of here ASAP, and like many of you suggested, to never look back. Thank you for your support. Truly made me feel less alone in this while reading the comments. Thank you. I'm an 18-year-old male, and I live with my mom, stepdad, and 2 half-siblings. I've been paying rent monthly $350 for the past year. I also help my parents out with their store, pick up and drop off my siblings to their soccer practice every evening, and buy food for everyone every weekend, if not daily. I also work 25 hours a week. I'm in my senior year. Well, yesterday, I told my mom that I wouldn't be able to help out with the store this weekend, as I've made plans with some friends. She got tense and told me to cancel my plans, as the weekends get very busy and she would need my help. I said that wasn't fair, as I rarely go out and deserve to go this once. She got furious and called me out for being selfish and ungrateful, despite letting me live under their roof, and threatened to kick me out there and then. This is not the first time she has done this. I've been told I'd get kicked out over not talking to my extended family properly, not babysitting my siblings while my parents are out on a date. It was exam season, not getting good enough grades, etc. Here's where I think I might be the AH. I got visibly upset and reminded her that I've been paying the rent and do whatever chores she needs me to do, work in the store without any pay, and that she is the ungrateful one for not acknowledging all that I do. And it is manipulative of her to threaten to kick me out to get things done from me. I shouldn't have said the last part, because she is after all letting me live in her house at a cheap rent. I've been saving to move out as soon as I graduate high school, hopefully before that. She didn't say anything and just left. I also left the house and went to my friends without apologizing. I came home this evening and my stepdad wanted to talk to me. He said that what I had said to my mom was wrong and domineering, to control my emotions and to remember my place. I went to my room and, well, I'm typing this now. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Your mom is domineering, and you called it right or null. She is your parent, not your landlord. As a parent, I never took rent from my kids. My job is to push my kids forward to give them the best possible opportunity in life. I think this is a cultural difference, and your mom doesn't see that she is taking advantage of you. Do your best to leave as soon as possible. Sorry, it sounds like you're a really good son. Can you live with your dad for a while? Comment 2. Not the idiot. Wowzers. You're in high school. Most seniors wouldn't be paying rent or doing all that. You're her child, not a housekeeper. You are right. She is manipulating you. I'm glad you plan to get out as soon as you're done with school. And anyone who tells you to remember your place is a toxic AF asshat. Now, for the update. Hey everyone. A lot has happened since my last post, and I wanted to give you all an update. It's been a wild few days, and I'm still trying to process everything. After my stepdad told me to remember my place, I was fuming. I couldn't believe he'd say that to me after everything I do for our family. I've been the one who's been there for my siblings, picking them up from soccer practice even when I had my own stuff to deal with. I've been the one working part-time after school and then coming home to help out at the store for free. It's been exhausting, but I did it because I thought it was the right thing to do for my family. The next day, things got even more intense. My mom finally broke her silence, but not in the way I expected. She confronted me in front of my siblings, saying that I was being disrespectful and that I owed her an apology. I was shocked. I've always tried to be respectful, but it felt like no matter what I did, it was never enough. I remembered how she used to praise me when I was younger for being mature and responsible, but now it seemed like those days were long gone. I tried to keep my cool and explain my side of things. I told her about how I felt taken advantage of, how I was juggling school, work, and family responsibilities. I reminded her of the time I had to study for finals, but still babysat my siblings because she and my stepdad wanted a date night. I thought she might understand, but instead, she just got angrier. It was then that my stepdad stepped in again, but this time, he surprised me. He actually took my side. He told my mom that maybe they had been asking too much of me and that I was right to stand up for myself. I couldn't believe it. It was the first time he had ever backed me up against my mom. It felt like a small victory, but it was short-lived. The argument escalated, and my mom said something that I'll never forget. She told me that if I was so unhappy, maybe I should just leave. It felt like a slap in the face. I had been saving up to move out, but I wasn't ready yet. I still had a couple of months of high school left, and I didn't have enough money to support myself completely. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything that had happened. I remembered how my mom used to be before she married my stepdad. She was kinder, more understanding, but ever since he came into our lives, things had changed. She became more demanding, and it felt like I could never do enough to please her. The next day, I decided to take a stand. I told my mom that I would continue to pay rent and help out when I could, but I was going to live my life too. I had plans with my friends, and I wasn't going to cancel them. I expected her to explode, but instead, she just looked at me with this tired expression and nodded. That weekend, I went out with my friends, and for the first time in a long time, I felt free. I didn't have to worry about the store, my siblings, or what my mom would say. It was liberating. But when I got home, the atmosphere was different. My mom was quiet, and my stepdad kept giving me these knowing looks. It was like they had come to some sort of understanding without me. My siblings were acting strange too, like they were walking on eggshells around me. The next day, my mom did something unexpected. She handed me an envelope with some money in it. She said it was for all the times I helped out at the store and didn't get paid. I was stunned. It wasn't a lot, but it was something. It felt like maybe, just maybe, she was starting to see how much I was contributing to the family. But the bittersweet part? Later that evening, I overheard my mom talking to my stepdad. She said that she was worried about me leaving, and that she didn't know how they would manage without me. It made me realize that even though things were tough at home, I was still an important part of the family. It made me feel guilty for wanting to leave, but at the same time, I knew I had to do what was best for me. My wife wants house deeds split by contribution. Despite my parents' support duties, But secret account discovery leads to compromise until parents' financial crisis hits and wife proposes separate fund. My wife and I are looking to buy a house to live in. Her savings are 4 times mine, and we will contribute all our savings to buy the house with a 30-year mortgage. We are looking to spend around $1.3 million. My wife wants the property to be divided in accordance with what each of us paid, and I feel that this is completely unfair for me because of the following reasons. For context, we've been married for 8 years, and we both had no savings when we started dating in 2013. We also have 2 kids together. Her salary was always higher than mine by about 30%, but we both paid equally for everything. I also have to support my mom and dad in retirement, which means she was able to accumulate much more than I did. She knew that was the case since day one. Having said that, I tend to spend a bit on my hobbies, whereas she was focused on savings as much as possible. My wife also wants to buy in a more affluent area, which is her preference, while I don't really mind getting a lower mortgage and paying less interest instead. I feel like we should be thinking about this as a family, but she thinks I'm being extremely selfish and that she isn't being treated fairly for all the hard work and sacrifices that she did. So please tell me, am I the idiot? Edit. More info. I will pay around $100,000 of the house, and my wife will pay approximately $400,000. Our monthly mortgage payment will be around $6,500. I have to support my parents because they have made some bad decisions in their life and live in a third world country with no pension. The alternative is for them to starve to death. I am not sure why my hobbies are important, but I play video games, am learning guitar, and play golf once a month. I also do 100% of the cooking and grocery shopping, 90% of daycare and school drop-offs and pickups, and help clean around the house. Edit 2. We live in Australia. Edit 3. I feel that I have to clarify that my wife has definitely sacrificed a lot for the family, and she also contributes massively to childcare and keeping the house clean. We do an equal amount of chores, but more focused on where we are more efficient. I also make about $165,000 a year, and my wife makes about $225,000 a year. After rent, childcare, bills, and groceries, plus parents for me, she gets to save considerably more each month. I also don't think I have expensive hobbies, and I am not sure why that was the assumption. Edit 4. We never had a joint account because my wife insisted on being independent from day one and having her own finances separate, which made sense when we were dating, but we never discussed the arrangement again when we got married. I tried to talk to her about a joint account when our eldest was born, but she had more savings by then and didn't want to, so I dropped it. Edit 5. The base mortgage will be paid equally, but because my wife will have additional disposable income post-mortgage payment, she will probably end up contributing more to close out the mortgage earlier. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I am so confused about how this even matters. It sounds like you both plan to get divorced, and will have to answer the question of who owns more. If that's the case, why take this next step? You're either married 100% or not. So just buy the house together and stay married, or get divorced and go your separate ways. I'm interested to hear how other big purchases have been decided, cars, vacations, etc. Has this percentage conversation happened before? Comment 2. I've never understood this splitting of funds for spouses. My wife and I have been married for over 20 years, and we have always combined our money 100%. I make significantly more than she does, but she was a stay-at-home mom for our kids, and it seems more asshole-ish to me to say that I contribute 80% of the resources, so I get a higher share of the stuff. You are a team, act like one, soft. Not the idiot because you're both part of the problem. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, back with an update on the house situation with my wife. It's been a chaotic couple of weeks, and I've got to say, things took a turn I didn't see coming. So, after I last posted, my wife and I sat down to have another heart-to-heart about the house and our finances. I brought up how I felt about the whole situation, emphasizing that we're a team and should tackle this as a family. She listened, but she was pretty firm on her stance. She reminded me of the sacrifices she made, like skipping vacations and rarely splurging on herself, all to save for our future. But here's where it gets crazy. A few days later, I was doing the grocery shopping, like I always do, and I ran into an old friend from high school, Mark. We got to talking, and he mentioned he's now a financial advisor. I figured it wouldn't hurt to get some professional advice, so I set up an appointment with him. Mark was a lifesaver. He went through our finances and suggested we look into a different type of mortgage that could work better for our situation. He also brought up the idea of a post-nuptial agreement to ease tensions about our contributions to the house. I was hesitant at first, but the more he explained, the more it made sense. I took all this info back to my wife, and surprisingly, she was open to the idea. We met with Mark together, and he helped us see how we could both feel secure without dividing the property unevenly. It was a huge relief, and I thought we were finally on the same page. But hold on, because here's the jaw-dropping moment. While we were going through our finances with Mark, we discovered something shocking. My wife had a secret savings account I knew nothing about. And when I say secret, I mean it was loaded. Turns out, she'd been stashing away money from bonuses and stock options from her job, money I didn't even know existed. I was floored. I mean, we've always been transparent about our finances, or so I thought. When I asked her about it, she broke down and admitted she was scared. She'd seen her own parents go through a messy divorce due to financial issues, and she wanted to make sure she had a safety net just in case. I didn't know what to say. On one hand, I was hurt she didn't trust me enough to tell me about the account. On the other, I understood where she was coming from, given her family history. It took a lot of talking, but we eventually worked through it. We agreed to use some of that money for the down payment, which actually made our mortgage payments way more manageable. Now, remember how I mentioned I do most of the daycare and school runs? Well, during one of these runs, I bumped into another parent who happens to be a real estate agent. We got chatting about our house hunt, and she told me about a new listing in a great area that hadn't even hit the market yet. It was in the affluent area my wife loved, but because it was a private sale, the price was much lower than expected. We went to see it, and it was perfect. Big backyard for the kids, close to good schools, and it had that charm my wife always wanted. With the new mortgage plan and the secret savings revelation, we could actually afford it without stretching ourselves too thin. So, we put in an offer, and guess what? It was accepted. We were over the moon. It felt like everything was finally falling into place after all the stress and arguments. But life loves to throw curveballs. Just as we were about to celebrate, my parents called. They had some health issues and needed more financial support than before. It was like a punch to the gut. Here we were, about to move into our dream home, and now this. I talked to my wife, fully expecting her to freak out, but she surprised me. She took it in stride and said we'd figure it out together. She even suggested we set up a separate fund for my parents to ensure they're taken care of without jeopardizing our financial stability. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.